Rolling. On the desk interview, book review, Ria, Seguan.
Dumelang kaofela, family of Good Morning GP. On this beautiful Monday morning, on the desk today, we have a face that is not new to the show. And I did promise you guys that he'll be back for us to do more book reviews. I'm talking about Ntate Mbulelo, who is the Managing Director of Contemporary Conversations. Good morning, Ntate, and thank you so much for your time.
Good morning, Ray. How are you?
I'm good. It's a Monday. Let us do the week. But,
okay.
Firstly, with the two books now that we'll be dissecting today, as promised, we're doing choice and decision making. Mm-hmm. Maybe let's talk about that first. What are you covering in the book?
Well, what I'm covering in the book is the fact that we all have situations where we make choices and decisions. Mm-hmm. And you sometimes hear people say, I did not have a choice. Mm. And in the book, I say that you always have a choice. It's not true that you don't have a choice. Mm. The only challenge is when you make a choice, in some instances, and a subsequent decision that goes with that choice. Mm. There will always be consequences, and there will also be payoffs in terms of whatever choice that you make. And in most instances, when you then have consequences that accompany the choice and decision that you have made, you then start saying, I did not have a choice, because the consequences probably are not in your favor. Mm. And whenever I talk about consequences, I'm talking about the negative results of a choice and a decision. Mm. And whenever people, for instance, have a situation where they have negative consequences from the decisions on the choices that they've made, they will then say, I did not have a choice. Mm-hmm. But I disagree with that. So when you read the book, you will actually see or hear or perhaps experience the fact that I stress the fact that in all instances, you have a choice.
You have a choice.
And the choice that you make, obviously, is influenced by a number of things. And you can get a lot of information in terms of that, in terms of the book. But however, we all need to understand that. Let's move away from this thinking that I did not have a choice. You have a choice. Mm-hmm. You have a choice to come to work or not to come to work. Mm-hmm. The reason why you wake up and come to work is because you have weighed the consequences and payoffs. Mm-hmm. And you realize that the consequences are dire compared to the payoffs if you don't come to work. Mm-hmm. The consequences are like you're not going to get paid because you didn't come to work. And therefore you wake up and come to work. Definitely. Because you are looking for more payoffs in terms of the decision. In other words, in all instances, the only people that we can say perhaps they can say they don't have a choice is babies.
Oh,
it's babies and young people because they're still young. They don't have knowledge upon which they need to base their choices and decisions. Mm-hmm. So that's what this book talks about. But one of the things that also the book covers is the fact that in some instances you can make the wrong choice and the wrong decision in your life. However, you're not supposed to be a prisoner of your decisions and your choices. You can make a different decision. You can make a different choice from the ones that you've made. I mean, if you decided that you're going to, for instance, use drugs, you can make a different decision and make a different choice to not to use drugs. You don't have to be a prisoner of a decision or a choice that you made maybe some time back under maybe influenced by the fact that you didn't have sufficient knowledge in terms of making those choices and decisions. So this book is very relevant, especially for young people who still need guidance in life. And for parents, for instance, I know with teenagers and young people who sometimes believe that they are old enough to to make their own decisions. And whereas they have not lived enough to be able to have enough experience that can influence the choices and decisions that they are making. So parents, I would encourage them to actually buy these books, especially this book for their kids, because it guides them in terms of choice and decision making and what influences choice, what influences decision making. And also, what do we mean when you talk about payoffs and consequences in terms of choices and decisions that we make? So that at the end of the day, young people can understand that the information that they get on social media and other platforms is not sufficient for them to think that they know, because they can make wrong choices and wrong decisions based on what they have. So the book gives you information. Parents can buy the book for their kids, and also, however, young people that are still growing up can actually purchase the book online. The book is available online. Like I said before, at Contemporary Conversations Essay, and they can be able to download the book, and it's below 100 rands.
Oh.
Okay.
You did mention it the last time. I think we were all wowed
Yes,
by that. But now you mentioned rather consequences. You know, I'd like to say maybe negative consequences.
Yes.
Can one prepare themselves for a negative consequence, like an outcome after a decision that they've made?
Yeah. Well, I think one of the no one wants to have negative consequences.
True. Yeah.
No one wants that. But there are instances wherein you would find that the decision that I am making and the choice that I'm making, it has got possible negative consequences. However, where I am right now, that's the choice and decision that I need to take, even though there are negative consequences. But you try and see as to how you can mitigate against those negative consequences. But the one thing that I always say to people, because I do talks also for young people, and people can book me for for motivation in terms of young people, is the fact that in most instances, however, people are not aware of the negative consequences of their choices and decisions. It's only when those consequences come to the fore when they realize that that decision and that choice was a bad one. And maybe not if you are a student at university, not waking up and attending classes, not submitting your assignment on time, and you were going, on parties over the weekend and all this stuff. There are negative consequences because you don't end up graduating. You fail because of. But at the time that they were doing that,
it was the right decision.
It was the right decision, and that it's just the consequences that came later on that pointed that it was a wrong decision.
Now, before we even go forward, does choice and decision making, do they have two different definitions, or
there is, because remember, you make a choice, and based on that choice, then there's a decision that comes around that. Okay, and in most instances, your choice will be influenced by a number of things. Hence, the other book that you see in front of you, which is Knowledge, Intelligence, and Wisdom. Now, in most instances, knowledge assists you to be able to get to making a choice and decision. Without knowledge, you will act on instinct, okay? You will act on instinct, and instinct sometimes fail us because instincts are just, even animals have got instincts. They act on instinct. But when you have knowledge, because knowledge simply means that you have acquired information from somewhere, whether it's school or whether perhaps in terms of coaching, by parents or significant others that have imparted knowledge on you. And based on that knowledge, then it assists you to then be able to weigh things. And it assists you in terms of saying, is this the right choice? And then the right decision in terms of making. So once you don't have sufficient knowledge, in some instances, that actually is the one reason why you would make wrong choices. And in some instances, have these negative consequences that we're talking about.
Now, quickly this book, because I read the intro when we were outside earlier on. Knowledge, Intelligence, and Wisdom.
Yeah.
Some people tend to confuse it as one thing, but it's different.
It is different. It is different because one of the things that we need to understand that some people think that by acquisition of knowledge, it necessarily means that you're going to be intelligent. That's not true. You can have a lot of knowledge, but still lack intelligence in terms of certain aspects. Okay. In other words, I can have an MBA, but not be intelligent in terms of what is required. I've met a lot of people that have got, high qualifications, but when you engage them on certain aspects, you find them wanting in terms of intelligence around those areas. So acquisition of knowledge is not equal to intelligence. It simply means that you become knowledgeable around whatever that you were studying, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're intelligent. Intelligence is something that you are born with. It's a gift of life that you get, from God. If you don't believe in God, maybe from the universe, then if you don't believe in God. But intelligence is something but intelligence without knowledge also is dangerous because you don't have a way of sort of guiding that intelligence in terms of the right decision. I mean, either we have thieves, intelligent thieves,
Yes.
Intelligent thieves, and you find that because they didn't have proper guidance in terms of knowledge and coaching around life. And the intelligence, therefore, that they have, they use it wrongly.
For the bad.
You get what I'm saying? So if you look, for instance, at people, therefore, people need to acquire knowledge, and that knowledge assists them in terms of furthering the intelligence that they have. And the application of knowledge and intelligence that you have gives you wisdom. Unfortunately, wisdom doesn't come immediately when you're young. It comes later in life when you are older, because you would have multiple situations wherein you would have applied the knowledge and intelligence, and you would have learned from the various instances and circumstances in terms of what is the right way of applying the knowledge and intelligence that you have. And then we can say you are wise. You can be able to guide and coach people.
Definitely. And anyone can be knowledgeable, right?
Yes. Anyone can be knowledgeable just as long as you're able to get the information and guidance from people. And this is why I always say to young people, let's have coaches, let's have mentors, that can coach you and be able to guide you properly in terms of life. Don't just rely on social media, because some of the information that you get in social media is not proper in terms of your guidance, and you might be under the impression that you have knowledge, whereas you don't have sufficient knowledge. And that knowledge that you have perhaps is also circumstantial. It's not related to whatever perhaps that you need in terms of your life, and also guiding you to become a useful person, a useful adult.
Now, Ndadumbulele, just before we close, because at time is not on our side. For me, personally, I think the book is for any age, at any stage of your life, whatever. But what are the responses? Which society have you received response from mostly?
Okay. I think adults, in terms of their kids, have received that response, and they are happy with the book, because they always say that this is the book that I can use to sort of coach and guide my child.
True.
As the child is growing up. I'm not talking about babies, I'm talking about young adults, teenagers who think they know a lot, and young adults. But even for adults, when they find themselves in sticky situations, these books are still relevant for them. They can always look at them and say, did I apply knowledge, or is it wisdom that I applied in terms of dealing with this issue? Because sometimes some of us that are much older, we now use wisdom. We no longer look at intelligence. Because we've applied knowledge, over different circumstances, and therefore that has taught us in terms of how we're supposed to actually apply information. And like I said, these books are available. Contemporary Conversations Essay, the website, and that's where they're available. And people can also follow me on social media platforms.
Yes, please.
The Mbulelo Maikana, and also we have Contemporary Conversations also on social media. People can follow and like us in terms of the information. There's a lot of information that we put out there for the public to actually enjoy and purchase the books also on our website, Contemporary Conversations Essay.
No, definitely. Let us leave it there. I know this is not the last time you're with us.
Yes.
We're going to do it again. And you know what? You guys know that there's a series of books that we'll be going into, discussing different conversations and topics on the books that Mbulelo has written. But I'm sure you guys have enjoyed it the same way that I did. Look, it's a lot of food for thought, guys. But you know what? We love you so much that we want to have these discussions and conversations with you guys. So please do stay tuned, because this is still Good Morning GP.
Cuts.
Yes.
It's a wrap. Thank you.
You can still have this one. This I'm taking.
Thank you. Yes,
Because
yes,
this is
please.
mine.
We already have one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna swap with another one because I think I just finished.
Okay. Yeah.
Don't go. No, you have to change because this is for Monday.
So next. Oh, I forgot. I nearly took your.
Thank you.
Yeah, but I'll let Kacha know which books we will talk about next week. Maybe bullying. I think actually bullying. Yeah?
Okay. Yeah, I'll find the book around and I'll also.
Yeah, fine. I did leave it.